Alright, so we're doing a bit of a tear down and a transplant at the moment between two LCD panels. The one I'm pulling apart now has a failed tube, ccfl tube. Would replace the inverter in a laptop, and it worked for about an hour or two and then started to misbehave. So just pulling this one apart. Had another screen come in a laptop. Some dude got a bit shitty with it and punched it because his lag times were a bit high. Again, anyway, so his is becoming the don't. Now with these particular screens, they're a 15.6 inch, which means they're a 16:9 display. But these were at that point where the 16:9s just come in, and just before they switched from ccfl to LED. Now we've got plenty of LED displays at work, but we needed to get some, this one in particular we needed to get sorted out. So it just so happened that, well, convenience just so happened, we ended up with two of the same size displays with the same backlight, with two different issues. But the screen you're seeing on the screen now is the one with the broken display. I'm pulling it apart. There's kind of a trick to pulling these apart, and they're all different, as you'll notice in a short while. But yeah, so they all sort of open different, and you just, you know, kind of winging it as you do. We're at work at the moment, so there's a bit of background chatter. Okay. So yeah, now we're pretty happy. Yeah, you just got the shroud off.
Even better, she gets a new one of them because hers is cracked. Just won't believe us.
Oh, we've been having a bad run on Toshiba's this week. Bloody hell. They don't drop dead on their own accord, they drop dead from user interaction. Bloody things. That's the broken panel. Got the panel out of that. Right.
As soon as we get quick as we can, because he said we remember the laptop. Well, MSY don't open for another 15 minutes.
Yeah.
One of our suppliers isn't open until 10:30. No, I didn't say 10.
Yeah. We get some of our cheaper stuff from MSY. They're not bad. They're a bit cheaper than our regular supply most of the time, which is pretty sad, considering we got to pay GST on top of the prices that we're quoted from our normal supply. MSY are generally cheaper than the ex-GST prices from our other suppliers. So the only difference is we get credited out of the supply, and MSY we don't. We got to pay for it, so it's all good.
Oh, bloody friggin' fucker!
Oh, we get some fun. This one's a little more. This one is different to the other one, as you'll notice in a sec. Two things. Probably the same thing. This has got an extra bit of tape on the left side, which actually has the horizontal drivers. as addition to the vertical drivers which are on the top board. You've got to be a little careful. I mean, I'm a bit rougher than I probably should be, and I probably should be wearing gloves, but we're basically just doing it to help a guy out who's got a bit of an anger problem. I mean, seriously, you'd punch a laptop screen just because your lag times are pretty bad. That's pretty dodgy. You'll notice around most of your frames, you'll have white tape. I think it's just there to hold together, or make it difficult pulling it apart. I don't know. You just got to be a bit careful on these because they do have a little baby fluorescent tube, which you'll see in a bit. Yeah, basically got to get all the white tape from the edge off before you go any too far, because it'll start causing you problems. And basically just trying not to put too much stress, especially on the bottom section where the tube is, because I don't want to break it. I mean, the tube in this one is bad, but you still don't want little bits of glass and, you know, a small hint of mercury kicking around the place. I mean, I don't know about how much mercury is in them. I wouldn't expect it to be too much, but still wouldn't like to be, you know, having that stuff around. But and that little tiny glass, when it breaks, is disgusting to pick up. It turns into almost a powder and it irritates you for weeks. No, you just got to kind of get that frame off without putting too much pressure, especially on these ones with the side controller chips. It seems a bit easier to damage. But no, you just got to get the tape off. Make sure the board doesn't flex too much, because along the top there you've got those brownish coloured connectors going to the board. They go to the vertical lines on this one, and if you manage to damage one of them, you'll get a line or a stripe or something like that. But if you static zap them, you'll lose a whole segment, and you'll get like an inch wide or a 2 inch wide gap. It's just silly. So yeah, we get the panel out. You've got all this filter material for the backlight. It kind of distributes the light evenly-ish around the screen. This is where you get your backlight bleeds from, just because of the way it's designed. But no, because they are all different, I mean, there's no set way of pulling these things apart unless you're sort of doing them every day. So you just got to kind of work out how it all goes together and all that sort of thing, and how these things are attached. Sometimes they're easier, they just slipped under like a retainer. Sometimes they've got a clip. But yeah.
I don't know if you can with one, do you? Yeah. Well, this other one here inside.
See, this one has the diffusing stuff, and then there's like this sticky run which is coming up in just a sec. That there, holding it, stopping it from coming out. The idea is to kind of get all the layers together so you don't get them out of order. Get them out of order, you'll get a weird colour effect on your display, or a weird brightness effect. It just won't be right. There's about 4 or 5 layers which you'll see at the end of this video. You got the plastic surround here, which has got to come off. As I said, we've been having issues with the Toshibas this week. It's just been crazy. We had one that was 18 months old come in and it just stopped working. For no reason, the board just stopped. The customer didn't believe us. It was like, you know, we had it in, you know, the customer's saying, we had it in a month ago, we had the hard drive replaced and now it's dead, it's your fault. And end of the day,
Unless that power supply is no
nothing we'd done would have been possible to cause the board to fail, because I mean at the end of the day, changing hard drives, you use a replaceable part anyway, more or less. But I mean, it's just something with those boards. We've also got a Dell that come in 18 months old, dead. Silly. Different owner, different company, completely different set of circumstances, but 18 months out of the laptop's getting, well, you kind of lose a bit of faith in it. We've had some really bad times with new laptops lately. I mean, they're horrible. There's just no design quality. There's no longevity. They don't last like they used to. I mean, back in the days, you'd buy a laptop, you'd be paying 4 times the price of a PC, and there's some sort of design quality or something built into it. As far as ruggedness and things, I mean, like your ThinkPads, overbuilt somewhat. But these days, in consumer laptops, you're paying $300-400 for a laptop, and you're expecting it to last like a computer did 5 years ago. It's just not going to happen. It's all built down to a price, obviously. I mean, the consumer doesn't want to pay $2,000 for a laptop. They want to pay $400-500, and they wonder why they drop dead very quickly. And there's no there's no support for the hard drive. It's got no protection, which is why we're seeing a lot of those just fail. I mean, laptops generally shouldn't be moved around while they're turned on anyway. It's just no good for them. If you're going to move a laptop around, just close the lid, let it go to sleep, pick it up, move it around, and where you're going to go, and then open it back up again. At least then the hard drive's parked and it's protected. Or switch to a solid state would probably help you, but you lose on space, but you gain on performance and a bit more ruggedness. But no, it's shocking. You just don't get the build quality anymore. And the bigger these hard drives are getting, the worse they seem to be. They just seem to be dying a lot quicker. Even in your desktop drives, I mean, the amount of external hard drives we've written off in the last month, 2 months alone, it's just crazy. And what's worse is consumers are relying on them to hold all their data without actually having to back up somewhere else. And you've got an external hard drive, it's a 3.5-inch jobby. You pick it up, you move it around. You accidentally bump it a bit more than being a bit careful, and wonder why it drops dead. It's just silly. And granted, backups are very important. Most people sort of go, oh, but it's a backup drive, that's why my stuff's on it. No. It might be a backup drive, but it's a backup, meaning you've got a second copy, you've got a copy somewhere else. What's a blank DVD worth? 20 cents, 30 cents Australian, it's like less than the price of a cigarette. And you can fit 4 gig of data on a blank DVD. There's no excuse. I mean, Vista and 7 have got built-in DVD support. You highlight the stuff, hit the burn button, and off it goes. 5 minutes later, you've got a hard copy, on a thing. Anything happens to your spinning media, who cares? You've got a copy elsewhere. And then, your PC dies, you've got a copy on a DVD, you can put another drive in or whatever, copy the stuff back, you've got 2 copies again. Easy stuff. Easy stuff. Takes no time at all. Worst thing is when you've got PCs, you've got the hard drive attached to it, like an external whatever, and they've got 2 copies, and then what happens if you get a lightning strike or something like that, or a power surge? It does happen, and then you lose both, and there's all your stuff gone again. I mean, just today I had a guy come in, and he had a small external hard drive and a laptop, and he's carrying them both around. One's got a backup of his emails, the other one's not working. Turns out he was using IMAP on his in Outlook, and wondering why things were going missing when he was doing things. And it turned out, because he was using IMAP, the storage on the computer was only temporary anyway. All it was doing is controlling a server. It's just stupid. I mean, he reckons they're all very important emails with legal stuff in it, and he's carrying them both around in the same bag. as his only copies. It's stupid. I mean, what happens if you end up in a car crash, or someone nicks it? You pull up at a shop, you go to get something, someone turns around and nicks your laptop. They've got your bag, your external, every copy of every email you've ever had, and then you're sitting there crying because I couldn't get everything working straight away, and the guy got quite irate. I'm thinking, well, mate, you don't have backup anyway. At the end of the day, if something was to happen, you would have lost them one way or the other. I ended up getting it working again, and converting the account from IMAP to POP3 so that it was actually storing them locally on the machine. And then when he does his export, it'll actually work. It's not the point. I mean, where's your backups? I mean, no one thinks about backups unless the drive stops and go, oh, my photos are gone. Don't be a bloody idiot. I mean, you can fit like thousands of photos on a single blank DVD. It's 30 cents. There's a bit of peace of mind. It takes 5 minutes to do it. Don't be so freaking lazy. It's not hard. It's just stupid. Anyway, yeah, so this one here, compared to the other one I pulled apart, this one's using metal retainer clips that you have to undo to get the fuses out, where the other one was kind of just lift up in one corner. It sort of pops out and then it comes away. It's different, they're all different designs. This one was a little harder to get everything out, because by design, I mean, I don't know, I ended up actually having to take a piece of plastic out, which you'll see in a second, to get it all to come apart. But this is the one with this is the bad tube. This is the screen I needed to keep. This has got the bad tube in it. Basically, just having a look around and seeing how it's all put together, and if it's sort of glued, or if it's a layer over another layer, if it's press fit, or obviously they're put together by machines. It's just a case of working out how they've designed them to come together. I'm trying to be as careful as possible so we don't actually break anything. This one's not, the tube in this one's not so important because it is the broken one, but the housing that the tube's sitting in I need to keep in one piece so that it all goes back together and works. There's always little bits of tape, like that yellow tape, you can sort of see at the top there where my hand is. I've got that sort of in the road of the cables, and just sort of having to break out of the plastic and make sure the leads aren't getting stuck under anything, and that sort of thing. It's just crazy. You've got to be really delicate too, because at the ends of these tubes the wires directly heat shrunk or soldered and heat shrunk to thin, like really thin wire at the end of the tube, and if that wire breaks, tube's useless. There's no sort of second chance if you break it. Technically you can buy replacement tubes for these things. I could even use one out of a 15.4 if I needed to. I mean, they're just different widths, but the whole the whole mounting for the tube would be wrong, and it'd probably be driven a bit hotter by the inverter anyway, but it's been done before. I've had to do it before. I mean, that there is the smallest tube. Ridiculous.
And it's called Malcolm and Eddie. And it's an American sitcom. And I hate American sitcoms. They're bloody obvious and stuff like that. Well, this is the same thing. But it seems to be... I can't help laughing at it. It's just... It's probably so pathetic and predictable that it's actually become funny.
So I'm just sort of gentle. You got to be gentle pushing these tubes in, by the way, too, because you can snap them, and they're exceptionally fragile. I mean, they're ridiculously fragile. just handling the tubes is enough to break them. Surprising how much abuse they put up with, actually. I mean, you think, oh yeah, you touch it and it just snaps, but no, you just have to be very careful with them. There's little tiny clear O-rings around the tubers, what would you call them, bracing or something like that, just to stop it from actually landing directly onto the metal shield. More so that if there's any flex, it stops it from just snapping or cracking. And it's just a placement thing. I noticed with this tube, its leads were coming out of the slightly wrong side. I had to sort of bend up the ends a little bit to make it stay in. But it went in anyway. What I did though is I put it in the wrong way around, which meant I ended up having to cut the lead off it and swap it around and heat shrink it, and solder it and heat shrink it so it's up the other end, so it actually meets up with the inverter on the in the computer itself. No, it's amazing what the world's going to. I mean, everyone's moving over to laptops and things like that, and I don't know, at the end of the day, I think the PC is still more reliable. I mean, honestly, unless you need to move a laptop around, you need a laptop for portability and that sort of thing, you're better off with the PC, especially if you want it to last. I mean, you build it with decent parts, use a decent board and things like that. You don't have to spend go expensive or nothing, but you don't have to. Things go wrong with laptops. If your hard drive goes bad, you can change your hard drive. If memory goes bad, you can change memory. Pretty much that's it. With a PC, a stick, the same thing. Memory, hard drive, easy. Video chip fails, put another video card in. The power supply fails, put another power supply in. DVD drives, off the shelf, $20, cheap as shit. And they're upgradable. You buy a laptop, you get one with Intel integrated video, and you decide, I want to play some games on it. Not going to happen. Where with a PC, you get one with an onboard video or integrated video, and you decide you want to play, Call of Duty, whatever. You spend $100 on a graphics card, and it's up and running. You can play it. With a laptop, you can buy a current generation laptop, and you still won't be able to play it because it just doesn't have the grunt for it, and you can't change the parts. I mean, there was a short period of time where you had replaceable graphics cards in laptops, but the standard was poorly followed, and failures still happened, and trying to get parts to go into it. I mean, even newer parts, most of the time wouldn't work because of compatibility issues. So they said, no, you can't do that. Try and put an HI card into a laptop that had an NVIDIA 8800 card in it. Didn't work. Same physical connection, the heatsink made it up in the same physical spot, but when you plugged it in, nothing happened. It was stupid. I mean, what's the point of a standard if you can't actually rely on the standard being a standard? It just seems pointless. I guess I just don't want you upgrading things. I prefer to sell you a new one, like an iPad every 2 years or whatever the hell it is. I mean, I built myself a proper machine. Didn't cost me a great deal. I know, it's probably 18, 24 months old. I know if it starts getting a bit slow, just go down the shop, get another graphics card, chuck another graphics card, and it'll be done with it. A bit more memory or whatever. I mean, memory's cheap as hell. And video cards are, depending on how hard you want to push it, pretty cheap. Anywhere from about, $120 or so for a decent graphics card, and $300-400 for something that's really, really, really good. I mean, the card I got in this thing is $77.50, which cost me $130 6 months ago. You know, it'll do 3 screens and it'll work pretty decent frame rates without any issues. I mean, I don't do a lot of gaming, but it's handy having the extra graphics power there just to do video renders and that sort of thing. Knowing there's another gig of RAM that it's not chewing up. I mean, this thing's still running, what is it? It's running Windows Vista Home Premium, 64-bit by the way, which at the end of the day is a pretty decent operating system. Between it and Windows 7 there's not a great deal of difference. I get all the advancements of 7, but I've still got the taskbar from XP, which I don't mind. It works, it's quick enough. I mean, performance wise I don't think there's a great deal of difference between XP and 7, Vista and 7 anyway. Vista got such a bad name back in its early life, it was ridiculous. And end of the day, it really wasn't Vista's fault. I mean, it was the likes of HP and, you know, Compaq, you know, they're the same company, but anyway, and Acer, you know, putting Windows Vista on 512 meg of RAM, integrated video, so in effect you got 400, you know, what, 384 or whatever meg, like stuff all, and then they decide to pre-package Norton with it, and you know, Norton with Vista on 512 is just, it's not going to happen. We still get machines in today that, you know, just based on the memory count that the things have got, they're going to be useless. They come in, they take 3, 4, 5 minutes to just load to the desktop, and then when you actually want it to do something, the hard drive's just going flat and knack, even when you just got it sitting there. You go to launch, say, Internet Explorer or something like that, and it's still another 2 minutes away before it even happens. I mean, the first thing we usually do is hunt down, you know, we've scrapped a few, or a lot of laptops, and you know, you'll find 512 meg DDR2 sticks in there. So, you know, if a 512 meg Vista laptop comes in, we'll pull the side cover off it or the back cover off it, and get one of the 512 sticks, clip it in, leave it in there, and then actually give it to the customer as a freebie, because it's ridiculous. I mean, 512 on Vista is useless. I mean, 1 gig on Vista is pushing it. I mean, even 7 doesn't work on a gig very well. It will work, but you'll know about it. The performance is, you know, it's getting there. It's giving it a bit of breathing room, and then getting rid of Norton also helps as well. I mean, there's a whole bunch of performance gain that you get back. I mean, you know, we usually replace it with, and they usually come in with Norton expired anyway, so we usually replace it with Security Essentials, which is Microsoft's free one, which from what I can gather works a shitload better and it's a hell of a lot faster, and it doesn't take up anywhere near as much hard drive space or resources. I mean, even on Vista with 512, MSC is a lot quicker than Norton is. It works.
Oh, did it only print the GST part, did it? Yeah, let's see it do. What's the point of the drive-through? They got out and stuff there in the air conditioning, which you don't want. Yeah. Oh, that's not the story of the part where you go, hey, back up, mate, up, mate.
Now, if you've been watching, you'll notice that I'm actually putting the wrong surround on this thing. That's why I've been had a bit of a problem putting it together. A bit of a brain fart. It's a Friday. It's been a long week. But you can see those little connectors at the end. You've got to be very careful with those sometimes. Still not quite sure how they're soldered on, honestly. I mean, are they electrically glued or what? Because you really can't see any sort of solder points or anything like that. They just seem to be stuck on there. It's crazy. But yeah, that plastic thing there's like the extra spacer thing. I realised I had the wrong surround on it, and then went and changed it. That's why it wouldn't fit. Alright, so I got it together and just chucking it into the laptop. These are LVDS connectors. Pretty much a standard. They're always in the same spot for CFL panels. LED panels, they're down the bottom. This is where this connector is, which is the top. Usually down the bottom, but they can be on either side. Now, if they're on the side towards my right hand, that can sometimes be a problem because some laptops don't have a lead long enough. If the connector is to the left side, then it doesn't matter because if the connector was on the right, the actual lead will move over and it will just be tucked in the back of the panel somewhere. There we go. That actually worked pretty good. Now what I did notice with the panel change, there was a tiny bit of a hot spot down the bottom under where it says Windows, just down the bottom. Can't do much about it, unfortunately. It's the nature of the conversion. I mean, sometimes the tubes will end up in the wrong spot. Anyway, yeah, so this is the old panel, this is the broken one. I thought I'll pull it apart and show you what's in it. That there was the shroud. This is the LCD panel, which you'll see in a second is very broken. It copped a fist. Anger management, anyone? Then we've got the front diffuser. Nothing special, just a frosted diffuser. Then you've got one light guide. These are like Fresnel lens. Is it Fresnel? Anyway, they're like Fresnel lenses, but in horizontal stripes or slightly skewed stripes. They kind of have a weird magnifying, distortion-y effect. It's weird. And that's the one behind it. There's always two. They seem offset, and there's a specific way they've got to go back in. If you get them the wrong way around, the light comes out weird. Another diffuser. And then breaking off the plastic surround, because this one's going in the bin. You've got another piece of plastic.
Practice was pissing. Qualifying was nice and sunny. Rain, pissed the whole race. Won the lot. Went to start of last night. That was again. You do. Oh no.
Yeah. Pretty crazy. But all that just to make an LCD panel work. And all these metal shields, something that holds the light, and plastic bit that everything sort of sits in and then gets clamped by the surround, and that's the tube. Now that one's got a very black end, I've noticed. It's just sad you can't see this before pulling it apart. It's all hidden. But overall, pretty happy with the mod. The customer got out of it very cheaply. I mean, I did it more as a practice run than anything, just to see if I could do it. Yeah, this is one of those light guides, just in front of the LCD, and just seeing how it behaves. It's weird. You've got it one way, you get this big black spot in the middle, and if you turn it the other way, you just get double images. And if you put it over the camera, it looks like you're drunk. Oh dear, I've drunk too much. Catch you later.